Okay, we made our top rail piece. Bandsaw, cut it to length, and we also made our bottom rail for the back. piece of wood, the same length as the top rail. And now that we're done with that, we want to create a groove or a rabbet inside of the top rail and the bottom rail to accept our slats. Our slat's going to go in there like that. But before we can put our slats in there, we have to set our slot cutter bit or rabbet bit, whatever you want to call it, to put our groove in here. And what we do is, we know the size of our slot, so we'll take a piece of scrap wood and mark it on there where the slot's going to be. Then we'll lay this on our table and adjust our router bit to where it cuts perfectly in where it's supposed to be, in the center of the board. Okay, we already made our side pieces for the swing. We're going to round over all the edges on it. We don't want to round over this. This is where it slides down into the seat support. We want that square. But we're going to round over from here up, and then all the way around the top. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mark our side rails for our pieces here. What we're going to do is we're going to recess these into here, making a good quality joint. What I've done, I've marked the very top on here, then I marked the bottom on this piece. And these will be centered in between these, like so. Okay, so I've marked the front with just a couple lines on the front, and that'll be where I'll put my piece there and actually trace around it. Okay, and I'll show you that in here in a minute. Just make a couple marks there. Then this one will be for that side, this one will be for this side. And the same goes for this. You want the bark side, the outside part of the tree, you want that on the front. Because usually it's a smoother surface than the back. The back of tree board, it will actually be a little bit more rougher. You want the smooth side on the front. So what I do is I just fold this up here on my line that I've marked. And I mark around it with my pencil. Like so. And I'll do the same on this side. Okay, so that's the top. And on the bottom, arc the side out, be this way, same thing. Okay, and there you have it. Got our router set at the right depth that we want to go. Got our pieces marked, got it clamped in our table where it's not going to move. Got my little piece of carpet down there for my knees. That's that. We do the same thing for our lower piece, and then I'll show you how to assemble it. Okay, now we're going to assemble the back. Takes 4 screws to assemble the back and some glue. Typically I use stainless steel fastener. However, today I happen to be out of them, so for instructional purposes only, I'm using these decking screws. We mark our pieces here where our holes are going to be located. You got 2 on each end. Then what I like to do is pre-drill with a drill bit. Now we're going to use our countersink bit and drill the outside where we're going to be putting our screws in with this. And this will be approximately 3/8 of an inch deep to accept the wood plug. Okay, so that's it for that. Alright, now what I want to do is put these together and then pre-drill into it, take it apart, and then drill into it to get a hole for our drill. I want to pre-drill this. I don't want to risk splitting it. Okay, this is the glue that I use. The only thing better than this, in my opinion, would be 2-part epoxy resin. If you want to do 1 step above this, I would use that. It's very good. This stuff is really good though. What we're going to do is put a lot of glue on this. Work it down in the grain, pushing that glue into the wood grain to create a better bond. And after that's done, you just put it together. All right. Okay. Same for this. You literally see the glue being soaked up by the end of the 2x4. Okay, so now this side here, I'm not going to glue yet. I'm just going to put the screws in. Reason being, when I put this together, when we put our slats in here, the time I get over here putting our slats in, I won't have room to put the last slat in. So I'll leave this loose or unglued so I can take it off and then put the last slat in. In order to make this, now if you have a clamp, a large clamp, you could clamp it on. I don't have a large clamp, so I use the screws that actually are meant to go in it. I put soap on them because I want them to come back out. I have put screws in before without soap. They got stuck and I couldn't get them out. But by pre-drilling this and soaping these down good, they should come right back out if I need to take them out. Okay, so now we're going to make our back slats. I usually make those out of just some scrap lumber that I have. Make sure this lumber you're using for these slats is dried out completely. You don't want any moisture content in it. How I make those is I set the depth for the slat here. I take a slat I've already made and I adjust the blade up to the slat so I know the thickness will be right when I cut it through. But to make these slats, we'll just take our scrap piece of wood and we'll run it through here, making a round edge on both sides. And this is just made from 1/2 inch or 1.5 inch stock scrap. We'll put our rounded edges on there and then we'll run it through here, and then that's basically it. You do that 25 times, I believe it is. There you have it, your back slats. Okay, so now we're going to put our back slats in. Lay them out here. Okay, so we want to have a space approximately an inch, 1.5 inches on each side. So what I do is I'll lay them in here. I'll pull this one out and then I'll measure this distance. Divide it by 2, and that's what space we'll have on each side of this. This is 2 1/8, so I know that this should be 1 1/8 inches, and this should be an 1 1/16 inches. This should be 1 1/16 inches. Okay, this is the side we've already glued in, so we'll work from this side over. First, I'll take and cut a piece of wood 1 1/16 inches and stick it in here. So the way I do that is I'll lay them out on here like this. See that? And all you do is you cut a block, whatever this distance is. First of all, to find out this distance, you just push them all over, like that. Okay. Measure this, divide it by 2, and that gives you your space. And I just take a piece of scrap lumber, cut it to that measurement, and then stick it in here, like that. And we're ready to begin installing these now. Slats, you don't want tight. You don't want them to be tight. You want a space here and you want a space here. But you don't want too much of a space, otherwise the seat slat will fall down and fall completely out. And I've had that happen before. So what you want to do is you want to line up. I know it's going to be 3/8 of an inch deep rabbet here, so I line this up approximately a little less than 3/8. And then if you look here, you can see where my router had made this is 3/8 of an inch from here to here. So I know to be tight would be right here, but I don't want it tight. So I'm going to make it like that. And then you have to just get a hang of doing this. And I'll do 3 at a time, or 4 at a time. Like that. And then I'll take them over to my bandsaw and cut them. See that? See how loose it is? What happens if you make these too tight, when weather occurs, moisture occurs, wood swells and contracts, and you don't want it, it'll bind up there. You want these to be free in there. They're not going to go nowhere because this groove will hold them. Then once you get used to this, you'll move along a little faster. That's a little too tight, so we've got all our slats in now except for one. We can't get it in there because this is not allowing us the space to get it put in there. So I left this loose. I didn't fasten it for that reason. So I can pop this off, put the last slat in there, and then put it back on. All right. All areas. Like I said, this is some good glue. It's waterproof. It's meant for exterior applications. However, marine 2-part epoxy is better than this. But I find that the 2-part epoxy is a little bit more messy to work with, a little less convenient. You can squirt this right out of the bottle, you don't have to mix it. Okay, now, is this going to fight me or is it good? Put our 2 screws in there. And there you have it. One thing about this glue, if any runs out, if you want to stain this, make sure you wipe off the excess glue, because when you go to stain it, that glue, if you left on there, is not going to make it look good at all. What we're going to do now is put some plugs in here. We got 4 plugs we got to put in those screw holes. These plugs here, they're fluted. By that, that means they have grooves on them. I used to use a solid dowel like this. Doesn't have any grooves, it's smooth. These have grooves in it. The grooves are to accept wood glue. The wood glue gets in them grooves. You put it in there, it holds better. I no longer use this. Glue all the way around. I don't do that no more. I leave a space. And the reason why I leave a space is if you put glue all the way around and don't leave a little space, it might work in a little space there for the air to come out. Goes in pretty good. And that's what we'll do. We'll cut that off with a flush cut and then sand it later. And this is something about my design that you won't find on my competitors. Very few of them. They'll just leave the screw exposed. I like to make something that's a little more appealing to the eye. Okay, so we'll do that, the same thing on the others, on the other side, and then this will be complete. Okay, what we want to do is we want to secure the last slat, because if we don't, it's going to do that. Plus, by securing this, the last slat and the last slat here, it'll keep all these slats in line. Do not want to nail anything but the last piece. Okay? All the other ones you want to move freely inside there so they could expand and contract. Reason why we can nail this one is this is so close to here. This piece is actually holding these from expanding and contracting. So we can nail this last piece. And what I do is I use a 1-inch 18 gauge nail, finish nail. And you want it to be stainless steel.